Today on the show, another Bayou priest in a unique ministry, responding to others as people, rebooting fatherhood, our picks of the week, and so much more. The Catholic Underground starts right now. Hi there. It is time for the CU Weekly. We're the podcast that tries to cut through the noise of the digital continent and bring you the topics that matter. It's episode number 396.
Wow.
If you can believe that. I am Father Chris Decker. Joining me this week, we've got Kathleen Lee. She's the executive director of the Women's New Life Center here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Hey, Kathleen.
Hi.
And also, we've got Olivia Gulino. She is the Louisiana culinary ambassador to Sicily. And she joins us this week because she's been on vacation, a family vacation, and now you're back.
I am. I'm here.
That's
Hello.
right. And she brought some recipes with her that if we had taste-o-vision and taste waves, then you'd be able to taste them. You might talk about them a little bit.
Too bad. I'll just have to eat them.
Yeah, there you go. So let's go up the pneumatic tube where the almond cookies go to the Jeff Star 1 near Earth Orbit Satellite and to Jeff Blackwell.
Well, thank you there, Father. Yeah, delicious cookies, and it's a semi-formal night here on the Jeff Star 1, so we're looking forward to the program.
Yeah, for those of you watching on the radio, Jeff has his bow tie on. Because sometimes,
nice red.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta. So I'm told. I actually, Jeff, I don't know if you're aware that there is kind of an unofficial, they made it a little bit more official in these latter days, but that when a priest or when a seminarian finishes his clinical pastoral summer, the last time that he has to wear a tie, there is a tie cutting ceremony.
No, I did not know.
That's right, because I haven't worn a tie in 12 and a half years.
Wow.
And you miss it dearly, don't you?
Not at all. Well, I will say this. I miss the ability to, how shall you say, to kind of emote with accessories. You know?
But you don't need that because you're already good at emoting.
Well, that's true.
Without
I
accessories.
I don't need a tie to tell you how I'm doing.
He doesn't need filters for his emotions.
That's very true. That's very true. And generally, as a sign of simplicity of life, at least I choose not to wear a whole lot of bling or whatever.
Yeah.
In fact, it's excruciating to wear the Fitbit, but I got to keep up the Fitbit, So
I should cancel the pinky ring that I ordered.
Cancel that.
Dang it all.
Yeah.
Yes, just cancel that.
Little signet ring.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You know, what's really funny is our first segment today is about a priest that many of us know well, Father Jeff Bahi, and he's a priest in the Baton Rouge Diocese. And I'm just returning from his 40th anniversary Mass. Yeah. Wow. So it was really beautiful. And Bishop Duca gave some remarks at the end of Mass. And he said, well, there are only two things that really come to mind that speak to me in the liturgy. He says, I wore my small ring today. And if you look over at Father Jeff, you see that his ring is bigger than mine. He says, but it has the Blessed Mother on it. He says, and everything you need to know. He says, so whenever you go and talk to him after Mass, don't kiss his ring, but notice it. Yeah. In fact, you can see it from here, and everybody just lost it. But congratulations to Father Jeff for his 40 years. He was my vocation director, and kind of scouted me, they do in the minor leagues, right?
Look at you with your sports reference.
There you go. I wasn't a hard sell, by the way.
Yeah.
He says, have you ever thought about making a discernment retreat to consider being a priest? I said, is that what they're called? Because I was like,
Thank you for the terminology. Let's do it.
That's right. Let's do it. The rest is history. But in addition to being the vocation director for a while, Father Jeff has also been involved in a very important apostolate that actually has been taken notice by the Holy Father, by bishops across the country, and that is human trafficking. Yeah. He might be a Catholic priest who is a full-time pastor and all of that, and he's also now running a house for victims of human trafficking. But he's always the first to admit that, in fact, he did today, that it's the women that are leading the fight. And it's specifically women religious. It was really cool at Mass today to see, a Greek phalanx. Just a whole swath of women religious that were in the front pews. Bahi told Crux News during a Vatican conference on human trafficking that the heroes of today in today's church for the fight against human trafficking are the religious women. It's not the bishops, he says, it's not the priests, it's religious women. And how beautiful that is that those who have given their lives as brides of Christ recognize that great dignity for all women, and it's really a fascinating thing, and it's hard for us to think about. But Baton Rouge, because it's on the Interstate 10 corridor, is one of like the top 5 places in the United States for human trafficking.
Yeah.
And it's I have a cousin who works for the sheriff's department who talked about his work. That's one of the things that he works with. He says we don't even think about it, but people will young women will be kind of tricked into thinking they're going to a language school or something like that, and they get here, they're put into a van, and then they start.
Wow. Yeah.
They start in the sex trade.
Yeah, that's one thing I know, working next to Delta, our abortion clinic here, it's not the first thing I think about, but it's a huge correlation.
Yeah.
That we have women, we're constantly on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Women who are being trafficked, and how do you even spot that?
Yeah.
And then once you're like pretty sure, what do you do
Right.
about it?
That's true, because it stands to reason that if something happens in the midst of them doing what they're forced to do, at the peril of their own lives, then they would consider something like an abortion.
Right.
And so I had never really thought about that, but there is a real connection. So, gosh, what a difficult ministry and an apostolate that you undertake. But this is one of the things where these things begin to dovetail too. Because Father Bahi, who is a priest of the Diocese of Baton Rouge, he purchased a home early in the 1980s, hoping to turn it into a Catholic retreat center for young people. And while I was in the seminary, we heard about this place every other week, But it's one of those things that it didn't get off the ground. It never got started, and something happened. Father Jeff knew he wanted to do something important, and he knew that there was an opportunity to purchase this home. He says every young priest has a desire to change the next generation. Today he said, and he says, whenever I was ordained a priest 40 years ago, I couldn't believe the church had gone 2,000 years without me. He says, and after 40 years, I know exactly why it has done as it has, because it isn't about us, right?
Yeah.
So he tried. After several reboots, the retreat center never took off. And then in 2002, he met Sister Eugenio Bonetti, and she's an Italian nun who was one of the leading crusaders against sex trafficking in the church. So she goes all over, and over the last 25 years, she's pioneered some of the first programs dedicated to rescuing women from the practice of the sex trade of human trafficking. Her work has even attracted, as we said, Pope Francis's attention. And she actually has penned the meditations for this, I believe it was this past year's Good Friday at Rome's Colosseum. And so there was a particular focus on human trafficking.
Very cool.
Father Bahi says her passion and her compassion is infectious, recalling that first encounter that they had. And it's hard to out passion Father Jeff, if you've ever met him. So I would imagine that he really was taken by her work. And so Father Bahi said, I'm not going to do this without women religious. And so she told him, she inspired him, you may want to think about turning this property that you have into a home for adolescent girls to rescue them from the sex trade. And that's exactly what happened. So Sister Bonetti found 5 Sisters of Mercy. They have taken up residence at what's called Metanoia Manor. It's after the Greek word that really means a change of mind, literally, but it has to do with a change of heart, right? When we talk about a metanoia, kind of a changing of the person from one mode of thought and of action to another. And of course, as you remember, Jeff, that the heart is the seat of wisdom. So metatanoia. Anyway, so he says that to live and to care for these girls is 24-hour work, and it's not just something you can pay just anyone to do. It has to be a calling, and so that's where the women religious come in. This estate now has 16 private rooms where women, all adolescents, they average an age of 13 years old. That's the average age of a victim of human trafficking. And so this is a place, and it's not, nobody knows where it is.
Yeah.
We know about where it is, but we don't know where it is. And this is so that they can live in tranquility and in safety, and to try to get unshackled, as they want to restart their lives. And Father Jeff says that although religious sisters staff the home, their only mission is to provide a new start and not to proselytize. I mean, that's an important thing too, is when you're starting with the dignity of the human person, that's not necessarily the time to begin introducing all of the
Right.
Yeah.
all of the treasury of faith. I mean,
Right.
at that point, the most treasure that you should be introducing is the one towards charity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in fact, it reminds me of my favorite play, The Man of La Mancha, where crazy Don Quixote comes in and he sees the prostitute, and he calls her Dulcinea. He doesn't call her by her name, Aldonza, but he calls her Dulcinea. And calling her the sweet one, she begins to adopt that identity. She wants to be Dulcinea, you know, and that is exactly what is being allowed here is the women to see their true worth through the charity of the sisters, and that really is something. Father Jeff says they can go to any church of their choosing or no church at all. It's not just a Catholic shelter, but that's really kind of we need to get them out of human trafficking, and we need to get them back into life, because I can't even fathom how traumatic it must be, especially when you lived a normal life, and then you took bait for something you thought was going to maybe give you a leg up, into a some form of learning or something.
And for me, it's so wise and discerned. You can tell from Father Jeff, because that he allows women to do this work.
Yes.
In our work at our clinic, we have a lot of good men we have a staff of women, and we have a lot of good men who recognize that these women, most of the ones who come in our doors, and definitely the ones who come through Father Jeff's door, have been hurt by men,
traumatized.
And so the way to encounter them is through women,
Right.
And we have some people who don't get that, and so that I'm totally in love with that idea.
Yeah, there comes a time where motherhood, fatherhood certainly is important. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But there is this beautiful mutuality that has to be understood, especially when somebody's encountering trauma. And where do you go when you've been traumatized in any way? You go to your mama, And these women are religious. I mean, I was sitting in the sanctuary looking out at them and seeing how infectious all of their smiles were. They were beautiful. And that's really something that especially whenever a mother figure looks at somebody who's just, as I can imagine, experienced who knows how many weeks, months, or years of trauma, it just sees a smile that has only love behind it. Only charity behind it. What a relief that must be, but also to be able to sink into the arms of someone who loves you as a person and not as an object.
Well, especially as you acclimate or reacclimate to what is normal. Because, if the average age is 13, they're still developing neurologically.
Yes.
So, depending on how long they've actually been in a trafficking situation, they might not comprehend that what they were experiencing wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Right. And so it takes time to reacclimate to what that environment might be.
To reteach that. Yeah, that's something. So what Father Jeff does, in addition to being the pastor of a parish and a mission, is he spends much of his time raising the $500,000 budget to keep the house fully functioning every year. And he wants to add more religious sisters, perhaps even greater capacity. And that's really quite something. And what a great gift of the Holy Spirit to place this. Because knowing Father Jeff, he knew he needed to do something important. The Holy Spirit placed that on his heart. But with so many of us as priests, we have an idea of what we want it to be. And the Holy Spirit says, no, it's this. And he simply said yes. Now, he doesn't take state or federal funding, but as it happens, one of his biggest allies happens to be our present governor, John Bell Edwards, who, along with his wife Donna, have taken an interest in the work of Metanoia Manor. And he was at Father Jeff's 40th anniversary today. He's proven to be, and we can say this, he's proven to be pro-life, signing the heartbeat bill into force. And
just
things
this past week,
just this past week on our calendar. And so not only is there some government involvement in a good sense, but the head of state police, the sheriff's association, local law enforcement, they all serve on the board for Metanoia Manor because they know how important this is to the well-functioning of a society too. Remember, police is polis, right? Those who are trying to find the right functioning of society in a city. Polis is a city, right? And it's the job of the police to protect and to serve. And so this is a way that they're able to protect and serve at the same time. So very, very cool.
Yeah, you see how, I see in this, how many times have I started or tried to start my own ministry? Yeah. And I've been like, okay, I've got this. I'm doing this. You see in Father Jeff his humility, and that he's saying, this is what I can do, but this is not I can't carry this alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the betterment of the women who come through our doors, there needs to be women who are going to care for them.
Yeah.
There needs to be, involvement with all these, with all these the
officials,
police,
and
with all these, state and local officials. And I think that's amazing, is to root yourself in that.
And some would say really only in the South, right? Only in Louisiana. There's a hand in glove that can happen between faith-based organizations and state agencies or local agencies that really seems to kind of goes along with our common desire for just doing right, doing good for the sake of people, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I presume that it's that way elsewhere in the United States as well. But there's something about Southern hospitality that isn't just iced tea on a hot afternoon,
right.
but that there is, and this is kind of proves it, that there is something here, and there's something to those things working together. Father Jeff said, this isn't some political issue, it's an issue of human dignity. And that's really what I'm trying to say, right? He says, these are not just other people's kids. We are all responsible. They're all of our kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the takeaway from it, is that, I mean, how would you feel if it was your child? Well, it is your child. Why? Because you're baptized. And if you're not, if perhaps someone isn't, then you were a child of God. You were created, and you have dignity because you were created. How beautiful that is that this exists, and may it exist elsewhere. It could provide a good model. And so we'll make sure there's a link to that in our show notes for sure. Yeah. But in the meantime, we should let you know that we are the Catholic Underground. Yeah, you've found the Catholic Underground. You have. We're online at Catholic Underground. Welcome back. We're online at CatholicUnderground.tv. We're in your podcasting device right now as you're listening on your commute.
And in your ear holes.
Indeed. We're also on the radio. In
the
fact,
most noble of holes.
And that's right. Indeed. I guess I should give a shout out to the Mercedarian Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament who say, Father, we listen to the program live. So,
Hi,
so
sisters.
hello, sisters and mothers.
Will you pray for us?
Yeah, please pray for us. Yeah. I said, well, I hope that the what do you call it whenever you can hear something? Reception. I hope the reception is good.
Hello.
Must be time for caffeine. I hope the reception's good because the transmitter is right in their backyard, literally.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So,
okay.
Hey, sisters. Alrighty, our picks of the week are coming up a little bit later. But first, we want to talk about what happens when the comm boxes go crazy. We seem to all be worked up all the time, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I just want to type something back angrily in all caps.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a friend of mine who's not on Facebook, and I'm like,
Gasp.
I am so envious.
The last man on earth.
Yes, right? And I'm so envious because it would take so much stress out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we all know, especially with, with the stuff that's going on in the pro-life movement over these last couple months, things are getting a little vicious.
It's been ratcheted up, that's for sure.
Yes. So we know that there's a very out in the open debate happening right now about whether an unborn child at the heartbeat stage should be considered a child. Mm-hmm. Is this a human being?
At the very least, yes.
Yeah. Yes. But there's a huge debate on what, we know,
this is taken to Twitter.
Yes,
and
people are losing their minds, right? It's not even like I wouldn't even say some of this stuff to somebody's That's my question to you.
Yeah.
In your little comm box, right? When you go to type something, is this something that you would say to someone's face?
Generally not.
If it isn't, like when I text people, like if I ever have to text a friend or like anybody, and I say I love you. And then I add, and when I see you in person, I'm going to say that to your face.
Yeah.
And then I do, right? Because it's like this weird, like you can be so vulnerable and like open, either way, good or bad, through multimedia, through our phones, through our Facebook, through our Twitter, right? But when we're face to face with someone, it's like,
in which case it's a false vulnerability,
right? Right. And how many times have you like hurt someone's feelings? And then you've seen, like, it's so easy to do that. Write it, text it.
Yeah.
But you say it to their face, and you see the hurt, and you're like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's bad, right? Yeah. Okay, so That being said, right, we know that this debate is going on all over the place, right? And at a recent unprecedented, really pro-life event in New York City's Times Square.
This was crazy.
Right? Which we know had the first kind of bill that came about legalizing abortion until birth, right? A baby's heartbeat was heard with a 4D sonogram image displayed on screens across
Times Square.
Wow.
Which is...
Right.
Yeah, did you see any of the video footage of it?
Yeah.
I saw like a brief video on Twitter.
Yeah. Really something. And everybody, it was kind of like a D-Day moment where everyone was frozen watching the sonogram.
Yeah, and so that was beautiful, right? And then just a few days later, the interwebs were abuzz again, right, about a Pennsylvania state representative who posted a video of himself actually harassing a woman and 3 teenagers who were quietly praying outside of Planned Parenthood in Philadelphia. I, for the first, one of the few times in my life, I wrote a letter.
Oh.
A very kind and strong-worded letter, but I wanted to call him to his face, but he's in Pennsylvania, so, right? So he's going on and on about how an unborn baby is not a person, right? That's the argument. It's an extension of the woman's body. My body, my choice. Like, this is what this is. But let's set aside the differences on abortion that we have, right? And let's just talk about respect of people, of human beings.
Yeah, because this covers a broad swath of things, right?
Yeah.
Not just what a moral issue that has become a political issue, but the notion of really truly respecting others.
Right. And it's the kind of respect that can lead us to look at one another differently. Right? That idea that when you hurt someone and you see the pain on their face, or when you say something beautiful to them and you see the joy in their eyes, how that changes them and you, right? And so just recently, Jean Vanier, right?
Yeah.
He's the founder in France of the L'Arche community, a community for people living with disabilities. He died at 90 earlier this month, and some of the things I didn't know some of the things that he had spoken about. But he has some beautiful things to say about people living with people with disabilities, right? And maybe nothing was as powerful as the way he humbly lived his life alongside the men and women he served.
Yeah, he was kind of a Mother Teresa type.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't just hey, I started this community and I live in my mansion on the hill. It was I live every day with these people, right? And how beautiful the lessons that he learned. In a book titled Becoming Human, he offered some key thoughts. He says, in healthy belonging, we have respect for one another. We work together, cooperate in a healthy way, listen to each other. We learn how to resolve the conflicts that arise when one person seeks to dominate another, right? How many times do we listen to another person with the intent to respond rather than to really understand what they're saying to us, right? How many times do we read a comment and we've already got like the first 5 paragraphs of what we're going to say back, and it's nasty. And we're not even thinking about where these people come from.
Right.
What's their background? You know, what are they bringing to this conversation? Right. And this may be as countercultural as it gets right now. Because we are not listening to each other. There is no, I want to sit down and learn from you. It's I'm right, you're wrong. And that's just it. And I don't want to hear anything you have to say. If we are different, we must hate each other. And I'm going to I'll give you a real world example. Our clinic is right next door to the abortion clinic here in town. And this week I had the opportunity to meet the clinic manager across the parking lot.
Wow.
And I was very nervous because I didn't know what she would think of me. And I unfortunately had preconceived notions of her. And we met in the parking lot, and it was a beautiful conversation. And we both acknowledged that we were on different sides of the fence. But I have a better understanding of her and what she thinks she's doing.
Sure. So you actually have a framework for having future conversations.
And there was no send this message across the way. It was, I'd like to meet with you, and talk.
As a person.
Right? So this is the opposite of our Insta comment, Insta slam, social media, right? The opposite of our instant categorization.
Right. Who can drop the bigger atom bomb in a box?
Yeah, and like smite you. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is a
like
smoking.
Zeus and his thunderbolts.
That's
That's what Twitter is now.
That's true.
Yes.
Gosh, I've never thought of it that way. But
like I belong to a pro-life community on Facebook, and comment after comment after comment is, I feel so defeated. I feel so like I've lost 50 friends this week, or I've people that I thought were or were of the same thinking of me. Are attacking me and harassing me, and that's not to say. Look, that's not to say that pro-lifers are not,
giving
not,
it as good as they
right,
get.
Right. But it's just like, I can say whatever I want. I don't have to take it back.
That's right. In fact, Vanier says, imagine if we looked at one another as diamonds in the rough. For Aladdin is coming out in live action, so I mean that was the whole point of it, right? A diamond in the rough can be a prince. And he says even the people we most disagree with on Facebook, the politician who most infuriates us, he says we all have to discover there are others like us who have gifts and needs. No one of us is the center of the world. We are a small but important part of our universe, and we all have a part to play. And we need one another. And he goes so far as to say, what we know, we belong with one another.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
we are made to be in community. We're made to be in communion with people. We're not made to live on an island by ourselves. And so with that being said, like, we're all, I mean, like, it's such a cliche, I think, but we are so different. And like not one of us is the same as somebody else. And if we don't take time to recognize the uniqueness of each other, the beauty of that uniqueness, then we are missing a whole opportunity to grow ourselves. Right? If all I ever did was stick, with Catholic pro-life people, and that's the only conversations I ever had, then I would never learn about myself. I'd never learn about other people.
That's right.
And for me, that's been a push.
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it used to be that I could just get away with saying I was a teacher, and now I have to say I work next door to an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to say that out loud. And I've had some really good conversations with people who are different, who think differently, and they've challenged me, and I hope that I've challenged them.
That's right, and that's where we are called to be, right? As St. Paul says, to enlarge your tent, because the Lord wants to be present there. We're the Catholic Underground. We'll be back after the break, so stay right where you are. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Welcome back. You found the Catholic Underground with me, Father Chris Decker, Kathleen Lee, Olivia Gulino, Albert Dupont. I don't think I mentioned Albert at the top of the show. Sorry, Albert.
He's in the ball pit.
Yeah, he's switching the video for us. If you're watching us on Facebook or Roku or any of those other things on which you can watch us. If you're watching us on the radio, just trust us. Albert's doing a great job. And then Jeff Blackwell's up there.
Cool.
Yeah, on the big satellite there. Our picks of the week are indeed coming up. But first, we want to talk a little bit about fatherhood. Now, we've spoken about this before, but it's important to kind of keep bringing this up over and over and over again, because we talked about the beauty of motherhood and those who are helping with Father Bahi and the human trafficking apostolate that he's heading. But then the other component to that is solid fatherhood. Yeah. And it's a continual kind of what would you call it?
Juggernaut? I don't know.
I don't know. There's just this continual. For some reason, my brain is locking up. So we don't want fatherhood to decay. I don't understand. Yeah, it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. That's what it is.
Like I'm trying.
Oh my goodness.
Trying to fish for words, but it's so hard.
We're all looking at each other, going,
Father Chris knows so many words. It's impossible to tell which one he's going for.
Father Chris is the host of this show, and yet he can't do the job.
I Google most of the words that Father Chris uses in a show. I'm like.
Yeah. I need some protein sources. So, Olivia, we don't want decaying fatherhood to continue as an epidemic. And so
Absolutely
we
not.
need to find an antidote to it.
Yeah, well, and it's hard too because, we see so many problems in the world, and I think that what we're seeing is symptoms of greater evils, greater ills, and it's pretty easy to kind of pick out what those greater like underlying causes are.
Yeah.
But one that doesn't get a whole lot of press and certainly doesn't get a whole lot of conversation is this idea of decaying fatherhood.
Yeah.
And really, like, I think when people are talking about toxic masculinity, which masculinity is not toxic. I hate that term because masculinity in itself in its authentic form is beautiful and the world needs it. So become a better man if you think that you know someone or that you are someone who struggles with toxic masculinity.
Or at least use deodorant. It's a good starting place.
That's also, if we're taking it literally,
Please.
Yeah.
it's okay. It's normal. But I think part of that is this idea of fatherhood, and the last 2 decades or so in the church, we've talked a lot about spiritual motherhood, right? Like that we can thank Mulieris Dignitatem for that, and so we're coming to understand what the feminine genius is, what that means for women as spiritual mothers, and I think especially too that now that we have like women getting older and not getting married and still wanting to live out motherhood, how are we supposed to do that? So that it's a greater conversation, but I think we still need to talk about that when we talk about fatherhood. And I think that, it really is an underlying cause of a lot of the things that we see maybe going wrong in our world. And we have to go back to that spiritual sense of fatherhood first before we can understand how we're supposed to live out biological fatherhood.
Because that's really the basis, I think, now of the defect.
Yeah.
Is that we simply see fatherhood as a component of, well, that one is male.
Right.
And yet fatherhood at its depth is at a spiritual level, right? Because the father of all is spirit.
Right.
And so it's somehow we're connected in that way, right?
Right.
There is something that is revealed in spirituality first about, okay, I'm male, but fatherhood is not maleness.
Right. Yeah. And it is something that you grow in and that you develop in. And I think it's beautiful that we're talking about this on like a big ordination weekend. Like there were a lot of ordinations locally.
There are a lot of new fathers.
There are a lot of new fathers, a lot of new spiritual fathers. And so first of all, pray for them, please, that they carry that weight and that they do it well, and that they grow into their fatherhood.
That's right.
But yeah, our kind of defective view of fatherhood that we have today, and we can say that we have a defective view of fatherhood, is really related to that defective view of masculinity.
Yeah.
Because the last 150 years have been pretty bad for masculinity in general, and men really have been under attack. Not because they've done the history of men have done horrible things, and that maybe overshadowed the good that they've done.
Sure.
And so people have gone after that. And so, but what we get now is a culture that sees no value almost in masculinity. And so men aren't allowed to act like gentlemen, hold doors for women, offer a coat in the cold, walk on the car side of the sidewalk.
I try to do that,
Yeah.
especially in Europe.
Yeah, and
It's
we
dangerous,
Southern
y'all.
ladies, we like it.
I like it. Look, and don't ever apologize for that. Like,
Yeah.
I love men who are like, sorry, I'm going to hold the door for you. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I have never apologized and hold
There-
it.
There are men who will do that.
And
That's
they'll
crazy.
apologize because somebody has told them,
Oh.
Yeah.
don't
How
do that.
dare you?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I
Don't
see.
ever apologize for
Yeah.
that.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not woke.
Well, and that's what
Look,
we
and
want.
this is
We
coming
all
from-
want to be woke.
And this is coming from two strong women.
That's
Yeah.
true. I can verify
yeah.
that.
Thank you.
He knows. No.
I do know.
Yeah, no, but it's an act of humility on our part as women to allow someone to recognize our dignity as women and say, I want to honor that, and the only way I can find how in this moment,
Right.
and that's by holding a door for you.
Right.
It's not saying that you're not capable or that you're not strong enough or whatever. It's saying that I want to honor something in you, and I'd have to do it in a physical way.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that I have accessible to me right now.
That's right.
And we as women have ways that we can honor men in those similar ways, but we have to be aware of them and have to want to go after them. But it first comes with just understanding what authentic masculinity and femininity is. And so these conversations about men also get translated to boys. Think about like boys are naturally kind of like rambunctious and wild and mischievous.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and like watch a toddler girl and a toddler boy try to interact with each other. Like she wants to sit and play dolls, and he's running around with his underwear like in his hand. Like, you know, it happens. But it's beautiful to see the dynamism. And so when, you know, boys are kind of required now to sit for long hours at a time, keep their hands to themselves, and they have to learn proper methods of interacting with other people, but sometimes we can inhibit their natural vivaciousness too much. So this kind of full-scale war on men really includes sniper attacks at fatherhood specifically. So think about fathers are not allowed to be leaders in their families anymore. They're not really distinguished from mothers in any real way, especially like, you know, children kind of have parent one and parent two, and they're really indistinguishable at this point. And in response, you know, fathers don't mature into manhood. Sons aren't seeing a father maturing into manhood. And so these cycles that are just perpetuated, and we can't really find a way out of them. And then it also comes into the church, right? Yeah. Because if the modes of fatherhood that we see in the world are things that the priests and bishops coming up and religious brothers coming up into the church carry with them, even if they don't realize it. Right. And so and we do too, as sons and daughters, and as, you know, wives and husbands, we bring these things into the church as well, and it affects our relationship with our parish priests, the priests who serve us in the diocese and the chancery. So the parish pastor, and a lot of times, becomes like a I don't know, a fictitious head of some kind of government body, you know, like he's like a factotum, like he doesn't really have much power. He's just like the figurehead. Yeah.
Right. And that's what I keep, I constantly say to my people is that, though I am unworthy, I'm your father. Right. You know, and I often make those fatherhood connections too, because authentic fatherhood has to be understood in order for the context of parish life to be able to be rightly ordered. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Well, and think about fatherhood too. Like it's a dialogue, but it's also like a legitimate authority, right? Spiritually and naturally, it's a legitimate authority. And so when we treat our parish priests like they're just another like checkbox on the list of getting something approved, you know, like, well, I asked Father, and then I asked the parish council, and then I asked the finance council, and then it actually happened. You know, like we're not treating them as fathers. And really, like everything from the music that we sing during Mass, times for confession, all of that now is being run through these committees that may not include our parish priest. And maybe on the size of the parish, that's true. And maybe the result gets pitched to him for approval, but that's not the role of a father, right? So fathers, both biological and spiritual, are going through this struggle for authenticity. I don't know. That's the best way I can think to say it. Put it. And the impact of it is kind of far-reaching. Right. So we want to talk about what are some ways to combat that. What are some ways to not only like fight against something as in a negative sense, but to grow in true, authentic masculinity and fatherhood. If something is perceived as being toxic, what is the solvent? What is the antidote for this? Well, it's always virtue, of course. It always is. And you don't have to be a Christian to practice virtue, you know? And it's not a cop-out answer either, because I find, and this could be like a pet peeve of mine, but sometimes when people are talking about like a particular issue and then they just kind of like default into like, well, you know, you just got to be a virtuous person. I don't know. It's just like, but what does it mean? Like, we don't talk about what it means. It's more than just being well, I'm basically a good person. Yeah. You know? I'm all right. That's right. Yeah, I haven't killed anybody. That's one of the common things in the confessional. Or before somebody goes to confessional, they say, well, I don't really know what I need to confess. I haven't killed anybody. I'm like, well, good. That's a starting point. Love that. You know? Yeah, exactly. Keep that up. Off the list. That's right. Yeah. Well, and what's good too is I think that we're entering into a season, especially in the church, of talking about like masculinity as like something that is cultivated virtuously. Yeah. Think about Mulieris Dignitatem, which if you haven't read, you should. But it's a document on the dignity.
Sorry.
Kathleen. What does it mean, Kathleen?
The dignity of woman.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's a beautiful document, right? But he spends a lot of time talking about Mary,
right?
Because she's like the epitome of feminine genius. And so really, like, on the flip side, on the masculinity side, we can look to Saint Joseph. He was not immaculately conceived, but he was the just man, right? He was just Joseph, and he was the man that was one of my favorite authors says that he lived in the shadow of the eternal Father for Jesus himself. And so he's like the epitome of specifically the cardinal virtues is what we're going to talk about, but all virtue for men. And he's the model of fatherhood for the world in a very quiet way. That's another like big piece of it. But yeah, so what are the cardinal virtues? Cardinal virtues, you got prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. And again, these don't get a whole lot of press because, again, we don't really know what they mean. This is another problem.
But you're about to.
Oh,
Buckle
boy.
up, Buttercup.
You're about to regret me having this topic. No, this is one of the things I love, and I love St. Joseph, and so, like, calm me down. Just, like, I don't know. Y'all gonna have to just, like, slap me when it's over.
We don't calm Kathleen down. Why should we?
I know.
That's true. All right, it's my turn.
Dig in.
Okay, so prudence, which is not exactly caution. Prudence is actually called the mother of all virtues because it's right reason coming into a situation. That's the action of prudence, is bringing right reason into a situation. And a lot of times that ends up, like, the output of that is caution, you know, or like being careful while you're doing something, you know, like that kind of, we call that prudence.
Men, if they're prudent, are not considered men in our society today, right?
Right.
If you go, I'm not going to do that. Men are the ones who rush in where angels fear to tread.
Right.
Usually because their guardian angels trying to tell them no, but they're going, I'm doing this anyway. But prudence actually is the mother of virtues, and every man needs a mother.
Yeah.
You know, and
like a little voice saying, like, maybe
right,
not.
Caution.
Yeah.
Attenti.
Attenti. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Cuidado.
Cuidado. Yeah, there you go.
Wait, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Cuidado is a Spanish for attenti.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to learn.
That's right.
But yeah, it is kind of thought to be not very manly, you know. And I think that is like a holdover from, like, anthropologically speaking, like how much time men have historically spent in war. You know what I mean? So like this tendency towards brazenness and just like rushing into battle or you know, things like that.
I think even a Klingon is actually prudent, if I might use some Star Trek parlance. Many of them are not. But the good Klingons are the honorable ones are the ones who are prudent.
Nerd alert. Okay.
This concludes your Star Trek reference for the show. Continue.
So St. Joseph, I wish I could engage with you on that. I really don't know. But
it's a whole different podcast.
Okay. Yes, it is. But yeah, so St. Joseph is really the exemplar, other than Jesus, for prudence. And we see him actually exercising this in the scriptures.
We do silently.
Yeah,
which
silently.
Is really cool.
Which is the sign of, like, true genius and true wisdom, is when you don't have to, like, say that what you're doing. But you know, take for example when he finds out from the community and from, you know, seeing Mary when she comes back from seeing Elizabeth, that she's pregnant, right? And now this is where I'll, like, differ from some people. Some people say that, like, he struggled and, like, didn't understand why, you know, like, he doubted her, like, all that kind of stuff. I don't think that that's true, because Joseph knew above all Mary's virtue. And so he would have seen in this situation that if she's pregnant and she is who she says she is and who I know her to be, then it's for some reason that I am not worthy of and that I cannot understand. And so that was why he wanted to distance himself and, like, quietly divorce her, not because he doubted her, but because he respected her. And he knew that something happening in her was divine. And that's a sign of prudence coming into a situation, because what is he doing? He's having to reason through what's happening. And it's a startling thing even for someone as virtuous as St. Joseph. It's a very startling thing to have the woman that you're betrothed to, which is married, come back from a vacation essentially and be pregnant. And you didn't do it. So it takes a lot to even invite prudence into that situation, but then to act on it. And then to be willing to be corrected. You know, the angel appears to him and says, hold the phone, and he listens. You know what I mean? He allows his reason to be corrected.
How prudent.
Yeah. So a good father knows, when to act, when to hold back, when to consider other points of view. All of these things he holds with caution, with care. I guess I would prefer to say with care. So then justice, we do hear scripture calling Joseph a just man, which we think might be like an odd thing to say about someone, like how very just.
We often don't know what that word means either.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But this is where Aristotle can help us, because Aristotle's definition of justice is that it's giving to the other his due. So giving what's due to someone. So it's not just for me to like slap Kathleen across the face because she has not done anything to deserve it. It's just for me to like thank Kathleen for being a good friend. You know what I mean? Like, so justice is giving to someone their due. And this is also like, it plays in with charity too. Like, it's just for people to have what they need, the basic necessities of life. And that's why we do acts of charity, to be able to meet those needs. And so Joseph did this in his life. He first gives God his due by being a faithful Jew. He gives his wife and son their due by caring for them, protecting them. And he leads them in their religious and secular responsibilities. He had a job. He provided for them.
Yep.
And all of that was because he had his deep-rooted sense of justice. Fortitude, like bravery, but like in a much more like fuller sense is fortitude. And you can imagine that like in their household, he's the only one who's not perfect. So anything he does, even if it's just waking up in the morning, is going to require bravery. It's going to require fortitude and the will to keep going. Because if anything goes wrong, it's his fault.
Two sinless people in your household, and wow.
And you know who else knows that too? Satan.
Yeah,
Satan knows that he's the only one in that house.
That's the point of entry.
Who's perilous to sin. But you know what we call St. Joseph? One of our titles for him is the terror of demons.
Yes.
Because he is so attuned to the will of God, and he is so like invigorated with his purpose and his mission and the love of his family, that he is terrifying to demons. He is the reason that we only see Jesus coming into public ministry like after Joseph dies, because he protected them for 30 years. For 30 years, Satan was kind of wandering around and
looking for someone to devour. As the scriptures say.
But he couldn't find them for 30 years. So Joseph remains faithful, and especially he's an example for fathers when you do face battles. When you're forced to have that protector role be brought into relief, and that's hard.
When you're drawing your cloak over your family, that is not an easy thing to do, and it does require fortitude.
Right.
We get the word fort from fortitude, right? Something that's impenetrable, something that is well constructed, and that can withstand onslaught.
Right. Yeah, and that could be something like even just remaining pure. That's a struggle now. Purity is something that requires a whole heck of a lot of fortitude.
What robs us of manhood, really, is impurity in our culture. I'm very convinced, and it's not just our culture. Gosh, keep going back. It was looking at others in lust. It's a perennial problem.
But even from the things that happen interiorly, but to the things that happen externally in the home. So obligations of work, the home, like the physical structure, your house, to fight against corruption in the church. Like bringing your fatherhood into the pew. Don't
run away with your fatherhood when the church is in a maelstrom.
Right.
Bring your fatherhood.
That's when she needs you.
That's right.
And then finally, temperance. So along with prudence, temperance kind of gets a bad rap as like an unmanly or like a womanly thing. And I think that's historically related to like the temperance movements in our country, at least in like the turn of the century, because it was primarily women who were leading those temperance movements. But temperance is just justice when it comes to yourself. So temperance is I'm giving myself what I'm due. And what I'm due is having harmony between my body and my soul, and not letting my body outrun my soul. That's really what temperance is, and we all need that. Joseph Pieper said that. That's not me.
That's a very succinct way of breaking down that virtue, though.
Yeah.
I've never heard it that way.
Because temperance, too, it's not like, prudence isn't caution, like temperance isn't like modesty. It's part of it, but it's not all of it.
Yeah.
And temperance is vital to a virtuous life because it helps us keep our passions in check, the passions that are maybe good and also the ones that may lead us into things we don't need to be in. And it directs those passions to service of God, to what is just, giving God his due. And for St. Joseph, temperance was a daily necessity. St. Joseph was not an old man. And the reason he's depicted as an old man a lot of times, especially starting in like the Middle Ages, is because they wanted to show that he was virtuous, that he and Mary never had a conjugal relationship. Yeah. But we don't need to depict him with gray hair in order to know that, because he had virtue. Yeah. Because he was chaste to the utmost. St. Joseph in his most chaste heart.
That's right.
And so he had the desires and temptations of a young man. He was probably in his 20s or 30s when they got married. But he knew how to order them to the will of God, and he knew what the will of God was for Mary, was for him, and was for their family. Yeah. And so that was all he needed to keep going.
And he did.
And he did. And not only that, but he focused it on the family and to protecting her purity. Yes. And that ties again too into him as the terror of demons, and the guardian of virgins is another name that we ascribe to St. Joseph.
Which is a great litany, by the way, to Google if you haven't prayed it. Yeah. We pray it every Wednesday in my parish.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But yeah, so bringing it back to fathers are really called to live a life of temperance and purity and chastity, but also to teach their children how to do that. And we're not just talking about like sexual things. We're not just talking about the body. We're talking about in every instance how to live temperately. Yep. When it comes to food and drink and how you spend your time, how you spend your resources. Are you doing it temperately? Yeah. And finally, St. Joseph is the patron of the Universal Church, of fathers. So if any of these things that we talked about kind of like struck a chord, just pray with it, sit with it, invite St. Joseph into it.
That's right. Prayer is always the answer, isn't it? So maybe we should, I can pray this prayer to St. Joseph, and then we'll move along. St. Joseph, guardian of virgins and father, to whose faithful care Christ Jesus, innocence itself, and Mary, Virgin of Virgins, were entrusted, I ask and beg of thee, through these two dearest pledges, Jesus and Mary, preserve me from all defilement, and make it always possible for me, unsullied in mind, pure in heart, and chaste in body, to give Jesus and Mary my holiest service. Amen. Amen. That's an awesome prayer.
I love that.
Well, we go from prayer to that part of the show that we like to call
the CU Pick of the Week.
That's right. And for our first CU Pick of the Week, Kathleen's got stuff, so I guess we should go. Man,
it's show and tell.
Kathleen.
Okay. Yeah, look,
right.
I'm just gonna go because this is awesome. This game is called Speak Out.
It sounds like a you game.
Okay, it comes with these mouthpieces.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait a minute.
And putting it off like this.
Oh no.
It's like the thing you wear at the dentist.
Yeah. And then you say these phrases, and people try to guess them. And you drool all over yourself.
Oh my God.
Oh dear.
It is the funnest game I've ever played in my life. So it comes with these cards. It comes with 10 mouthpieces.
Does it come with disinfecting
that you should
wipes?
wash? Yeah.
Did
and
we
then
wash
it comes
them
with
yet?
things to say, like waiting for the what. And imagine saying that without being able to put your lips together. Yeah. It is hilarious.
Oh
Okay. So there's different versions of it. This one's called Speak Out. Totally fun.
That's
my
awesome.
goodness.
There it is.
Olivia.
Zinger.
So bitter. Okay, well, fine. So I was just in Sicily with my family, and my pick of the week is cookies from this bakery, this panificio called Tuminello. And actually, we have some Tuminellos in Baton Rouge, so I was wondering if there was a family connection. But the company is called Biscotti Tuminello, and that just means like Tuminello cookies. And
Yes, it
that's
does.
actually what I was trying to recreate with these
And we
experiments.
can verify that she came pretty darn close. I don't know what the originals taste like, but if you can imagine,
The originals were amazing.
Olivia has taken to her kitchen as soon as she got back from Sicily.
Yes, I did.
And attempted to recreate these cookies.
I did.
That's our
Multiple
Olivia.
batches.
One
But
of these with my mouthpiece in.
No, don't do that. Oh my God. Keep going, Olivia.
But yeah, so you can. I'm pretty sure you can order them through their website. The website is in Italian, but you know, we're talking about cookies, so it's a universal language. But you can. I think you can order them online, and they're so good. They have all different varieties using ancient grains and all kinds of different spices and stuff. So yeah, biscotti tumanello.
There we go. Jeff, you got a pick of the week? That's
I do.
edible?
Blink for Home. I had recommended this a couple of years back, and I actually have owned a Blink system, but they've come out with a new outdoor camera called the XT2, and actually the price has come down and the features have increased. It's a customizable motion detection, temperature alerts, all via your Wi-Fi system. Cloud recording makes it easy to save and share recordings. You can do live recordings as well. You can pair it with Alexa and Ring Neighbors. I don't know if you're familiar with that program, where a neighborhood could actually share videos. If they see somebody suspect, they share it with all their other neighbors. So it's
like
really neat.
Neighborhood Watch 2.0.
There you go. You're absolutely right. So to get you started, the camera and the Wi-Fi module, which supports up to 10 cameras, is $95, and if you want to add on a camera, they're $86. And they come with the batteries. They'll last 2 years, and it's wireless and very affordable and dependable.
Not too shabby. I tell you, whenever you're talking about cloud recording, I definitely need to eat something because I was thinking, why would you want to record clouds?
Oh.
Okay, yeah. It's,
He's broken.
It's time to call an audible.
We're going to have to reset.
Yeah, really. My pick of the week, because I like to draw and I like to write occasionally. And this is called Fabula, and it is a tool for storytelling. So you have a bunch of cards, like a deck of cards, and it allows you to analyze, to organize, and to build a story in the most effective way. So there are asset cards, so like who is your hero? Is there a narrator? What is the concept and the theme? There are story development cards, so like what's the world look like? What's the call to action for your hero? What does he fear? What does your hero fear? What is going to change his mind? And it takes you all the way through the writing process with these cards. And then there's also the editing cards. So if you want to add a prologue, and you can put these on a table, or if you want to tack them to the wall, you can do that too. And it helps you to get a matrix going so you can write a story.
That's really cool.
If I would have had these in high school, I would have been unstoppable. Well, I might have been able to be stopped. I don't know. But so Fabula, they also come in Italian if you need them in Italian and in English. And so I picked them up, and I can't wait to get started. So now that I've brought them on the air, I can bring them home and start using them.
That's right.
Yes.
We'll put it in the show notes for you.
I expect to see them on the walls.
Yeah, you will.
Mouthpiece is extra, though.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
The mouthpiece, I won't be doing a story with that. That's crazy. All right. You know, Jeff, we're always grateful for our viewers, our benefactors, our listeners. I'm very grateful for them, and so are you, aren't you, Jeff?
Absolutely. This week is the Catholic Underground is made possible by folks just like you. Join the growing numbers of undergrounders at catholicunderground.com/donate. And an important way to support us is to like us, heart us, star us, and share us on your social media platform of choice.
Yeah.
And if you really like our podcast, go by iTunes and leave a review and click them stars.
You know, I think iTunes is about to go the way of the dodo. They're going to phase it out.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But go to Spotify and do that, man. We're on Spotify. Our
There you
panelists
go.
have been Kathleen, the benefactress. Thanks, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
Olivia Gulino. Our tech director is Jeff Blackwell at Jeff Blackwell S. Our
Free Tang after the show, by the way.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
celebrating tonight.
The drink the astronauts took to the moon and the satellite. Our research assistant and the leader of the crew in the lab is Jim Hayes. Our video and graphics director this week is Albert, not Adrian Dupont. Albert Adrian Dupont.
Albert Kevin Dupont.
Maybe so. You know me, I'm Father Chris Decker. You can follow me on Instagram at Digital Catholic. Golly, we hope we've helped you cut through the noise and find the still small voice. It's not mine. We are the Catholic Underground. We are Faith Gone Digital. And we will see you, I think, next time.
from the Catholic Underground.